Since entering the league in 2017, OG Anunoby has been a contributor first and foremost on the defensive end. After winning a championship in year 2, he slowly added things to his game offensively and had a significant increase in workload last season. With Kyle Lowry now gone and Pascal Siakam expected to miss a good portion of the start, the stage is set for OG to shine in a big way. Let's go ahead and get into his game. OG is easily one of the best and most versatile defenders in the entire league. Hopefully, and I'm assuming this, the voters felt like 43 games wasn't enough for the all-defense teams, because to me, he was as good as it gets game to game, and he should be a perennial member of the all-defense squads going forward. As an individual defender, on the ball, point of attack, in space, however you'd like to refer to it, he's simply really good. He's not super quick, but he's good laterally, a master at recovery and closing gaps, and when you factor in his size and the type of players he defends, it's even more impressive. And he's huge. He has a 7'2" wingspan, he's listed at about 6'7", 230, and he uses all of it to his advantage. He allowed just 0.76 points per possession in isolation. That ranked top 15 in the league of those with at least one possession a game. This play against Damian Dotson is just excellent. Toronto's up 14, but OG's still giving great effort, swiping at all of Dotson's crossovers, getting in his airspace and closing gaps, and for his reward, he checks himself out of the game. He's got a Kawhi-like demeanor and always takes care of his business with no extras. This one's late in the half against the supreme scorer. Chris Middleton shakes OG on that initial pullback and in and out, but he has such great length and closes gaps so well he gets up to completely reject the shot, making Middleton look silly. He's on an island with Brandon Ingram late in the shot clock. He moves his feet really well, absorbs contact into his chest and gives no airspace to Ingram. He doesn't jump for the fakes and comes away with a block on the desperation fade. It's just supreme individual defense with another one of the league's best scorers. As for versatility, I put him right up there with the Bam Adebayos and Ben Simmons as the most versatile on any given possession. I know it won't completely register to the masses until he wins while being more of a featured guy, but he's the real deal. He spends time guarding every position nearly equally. One night it might be LeBron and AD, the other he might be checking both Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton for a chunk of time. Very few guys can hold their own in that way, let alone excel while doing it. OG starts off guarding Bam in this pick and roll and switches out to Kendrick Nunn. He closes the gap quickly to eliminate the pull-up three, and as Nunn crosses over, he uses his length and great timing to poke it away. Just look at how low he is when he gets this ball. OG is an excellent team or help defender as well. He's adept at reading plays, tagging the roller as the low man, making clean closeouts or rotating to that next pass, and his help positioning is about as good as anyone else's in the league. It's not super flashy, but it's very important. So on this play, OG's guarding Nunn on the other side of the pick and roll. Bam is rolling and has a ton of daylight ahead, but OG seamlessly slides over to eliminate that pass for Dragic. And as Dragic gets into that next read of what should be an open Nunn, OG is in the passing lane for the fast break score. The anticipation, awareness, and positioning all get a 10 from me on this play. And these plays show those great instincts in playing passing lanes. He does a good job of attacking it at the right moment and not putting himself and his team in a bad position for too many gambles. And just in general, his hands are really good. He was top 10 in deflections per game last season with 3.4, largely in part to his wingspan, the timing and position that we've talked about. He also digs down and swipes at the ball as a help defender with the best of them. Those are the type of plays that make opponents think twice on their drives, and they can really change the course of games. But OG is more than just a defender, and he really mailed that home last year for anyone who had their reservations. While he's still a bit undeveloped in some areas, at times he can be an absolute wrecking ball heading to the rim given his size and strength, and it's the area I think he has some of the most potential left to explore going forward. I was super curious to know what his driving numbers ended up at last season, because to me, it was clearly his best action with the ball outside of the spot up three, and he averaged just 5.1 drives a game. Second Spectrum's drives are defined as a touch starting from at least 20 feet out to inside 10 feet. That doesn't completely account for each drive, but it's still somewhat useful. OG shot 68.3% on just about 4 attempts a game in the restricted area. That's a great clip and a bit more evidence to his potential effectiveness when he can get all the way to the rack, using his body, the spin, and of course adding a little more, which we'll talk about. Here OG drives hard right and gets cut off, but he spins back left and just barrels his way in for the score. This is one of the best ways for him to use that size and frame without committing an offensive foul. Another one versus Cam Johnson. Cam's being pretty aggressive. OG goes between the legs back right at Cam's top foot, opening his hips and creating a lane middle. Cam tries to body up, but OG's too big and he gets to his spot in the paint where he can rise up and finish with his body, even off of a good contest. And I like these little tossbacks that he was involved in for Toronto. It allowed him to easily get downhill and get an advantage as the trail man or inbounder, and I'd like to see them take advantage of this more when possible, especially if he's at the 5. And Anunoby's also good in transition, 1.25 points per possession good. A big part of it is his ability on the defensive end that we already detailed, but he also has a knack for filling lanes and knocking down threes as a trailer. Speaking of which, last season OG shot right under 40% from 3 on over 6 attempts a game. For a guy who came into the league as at most a questionable shooter if not worse, that's a pretty big accomplishment. He's a career 37% shooter, but he never averaged much more than 3 attempts a game prior to last season, so that was a pretty big development that I don't think was recognized as much outside of the Raptors sphere as it should have been. And just for further breakdown, 88.5% of his threes came off of the catch, which he shot just over 42% on, and that's a tremendous clip by really any standards.
The Nuggets started off 4 of 6, since they're 4 of 11.
Now to the next step. For OG Anunoby, his next step is probably more defined and important than any of the others we focused on in this series. OG Anunoby's next step is more defined than any of the others we've talked about in this series. Now he's already come a long way, but continuing to improve his handle and comfortability with the ball is huge in having more responsibility. We've seen guys like Kawhi, Jaylen Brown, and a few others really transform their handles and take their games to the next levels because of it. Right now he uses a lot of push crosses. Basically it's just hard faking in one direction and pushing the ball over to the other side. I like this move for him given his size, and it should continue to be a staple. This is just simple but effective stuff you'd like to see more of. Against the Bulls, OG is in pick and roll. It looks like Patrick Williams was either trying to ice or just get through the screen. OG reads it and spins back to get downhill all the way to the basket. And then here against the Hawks, he sets up the screen from Boucher with a really nice between the legs push out. Capella is in good position, but OG push crosses to get an angle and uses that big frame to finish on the opposite side for extra protection. It ended up being a little more difficult than it needed to be, but it's a beautiful finish. And this is one of my favorite plays from him. He gets the early screen and switch from Van Vliet. He walks Brogdon down with a couple between the legs and then backs him down. He sees the angle available on the left side and attacks it, using that body for the finish.
Oh my goodness.
More consistency, better ball control, and any added comfortability with different moves will make plays like all of these more regular instead of a pleasant surprise. A big part of why the handle needs to improve is the pull-up jumper. He shot just 20% on pull-up 3s and just about 34% on pull-up 2s. And those were both on very low volume, just about 1.5 total pull-ups a game. He's probably not going to turn into Paul George off the bounce overnight, so just being able to really punish teams for defending him how they did in the limited pick and rolls he had, hitting some of those pull-ups off of pin downs, a few in transition, and then there should be opportunities available on his drives as well, partly riding on how much that handle comes along.
Off the Baines, the well-traveled Baines hands it back to Anunoby.
OG. 5 on the shot clock. OG with the jumper.
Knocked down 5 threes and finished with 19 points. More the same needed tonight.
OG has shown some encouraging signs in the mid-post and passing in the interior on drives, but being able to more quickly make reads in those dribble handoffs and some pick and rolls and off of his own creation is all a part of the next step. And I have to mention it, minimizing the unforced travels and the offensive fouls is definitely something I think he could still patch up. On this play against the Bulls, Boucher sets a soft screen and pops or stays out at the 3-point line. And this could have been identified a bit quicker seeing how deep Vucevic is, but OG makes this long behind the back assist to him for 3. This could have been an easy rotation and steal for Coby White, but the fact that OG disguised this pass and found the open man was definitely encouraging. On this one, DeMar is either anticipating the screen from Birch or trying to take advantage of his former teammate's handle. OG between the legs hangs into one of the better crossovers I saw from him all year. That move alone forces Pirtle to help, and Lonnie from the corner as well, and from there, he fits a really nice pocket pass through the defense for the score. These plays aren't perfect, and in some of them you can see what the handle improvement would do, but he's putting pressure on the defense getting into the paint. These are the type of basic reads that'll need to be routine and accurate, as the ball will likely be in his hands more often. And I think seeing the kick out instead of too often forcing it inside is another thing to watch as well. OG Anunoby is going to continue to be a game-changing level defender for a long time, but I think this is the season that we see him blossom offensively and build upon what was a great start last season. Adding a little more to his bag and being more comfortable with the ball in his hands as one of the key pieces of this Raptors team will have him in the thick of the most improved player conversation, and depending on Toronto's success and the magnitude of his growth, that award could just end up being his to lose.
He started out stiff as a cardboard box. Now to see how he handles the ball, how he drives the ball, his post game. You know, I've seen him a lot this summer. We worked out, and to see his skill set grow from when I first seen it speaks volume of how much he loved and appreciated the game. He came a long way. He deserved everything that comes his way. I hope he keeps growing. It's fun to see that. It's fun to compete against that, and I'm glad I was part of his career early on.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment down below, and share it with somebody else who really rocks with the game. Also, check out the other Breakout candidate videos we've done on the channel. And yeah, I'm Keandre, this is Intellect, and I'm out.